It is Wednesday, November 2nd, 7:35 p.m. Week 8 is in the books. It was electric as fuck. So we're going to break it all down. We always do. So everyone just tune in, chill out, and let the good times roll.
Welcome into another episode of the DNZ Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Zach, and I'm joined, as always, with my fellow LOC league mates, Drake and Nick. Welcome in, boys. Another week in the book, Week 8. As Nick said earlier, it was electric. A lot of high-flying offense. This was the highest-scoring week in LOC history, wasn't it? Or at least this season.
Yeah, every team in LOC this week had 135-plus points. So Nick was the worst team of the week, and he had 137 points or something like that.
Yeah, this is bullshit.
There's
no way in hell I should be in last place. Team RDC 22 should be in last place. Arrowhead Choppers is in that discussion right now, but bullshit. I should not be in last place right now.
Well,
That's all I have to say.
I don't know if I agree with that, but no.
I've scored more points than 4 other teams, okay? So I'm being generous when I say I should be second to last, okay? If we go strictly by points scored, which is how you should judge a fantasy team, in my opinion, because all you can control is how many points you score. This is ridiculous.
Already on a points for, points against rant, and we haven't even really got into it yet.
You know what we could do? It would be kind of interesting. I just kind of thought of this on the fly here. Instead of having like an IDL league, you could draft like defensive players, and the points that they score can shed off points that the other team scores, kind of like having an offense and a defense.
Right.
That'd be kind of a cool like fantasy league to do.
Right. So you could pull out negative points on somebody if you had one defensive player or 2 defensive players. That would be interesting. I mean, I've never even thought about or considered doing any type of leagues where you have defensive players, but
that would be too much.
Yeah, it'd be another layer to get into. But I mean,
I was actually Nate talked about trying to trade for Dawson Knox,
right?
And he said, "Send me your worst trade." And before I did the Felipe Franks trade, I was trying to draft defensive players, but we actually weren't allowed to on Sleeper because it was a position that didn't fit LOC.
Right, we didn't have a roster spot for it or whatever. But yeah, no, Week 8 was wild. NFL Red Zone was literally on fire. I mean, you'd be cutting back and forth between touchdowns, whether it was A.J. Brown, fucking Donta Foreman. There was a lot of people with
that Miami game was electric too.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyreek Hill didn't have any touchdowns, but he had almost like 200 yards receiving. Jalen Waddle had another good game.
He had 2 touchdowns.
Tua was like the QB1 or QB2 on the week right there with Jalen Hurts. But it was an absolutely crazy week. We did have a little shakeup at the top of the standings for LOC, so we'll certainly get into that with our LOC headlines here down the road. But let's dive into the injury report here before the news. First off, Jonathan Taylor aggravated his ankle injury. He's likely to continue at less than 100%. He did not practice on Wednesday. He did leave the game for a little bit, but came back with a bunch of fucking tape on his ankle. So seems like he might fight through it. I mean, they've got no Nyheim Hines anymore. We'll talk about that. So
he's a big reason on my fantasy woes this year. I'm in 5 leagues, and I have him in 3 leagues.
Jesus.
That's just because he's the top pick in all of those, obviously. So wasted.
Yeah. No, not picking CMC there is one of the biggest faults that a lot of people probably have.
I do have CMC in 1 league. I'm expecting a rebound there. There's only 1 league I'm doing good in.
Yep. Gus Edwards here as well, hamstring strain, questionable for Week 9. Cooper Kupp, right ankle sprain, expected to play in Week 9, didn't practice Wednesday, but did participate in the morning walkthrough for whatever that means. So expect Cooper Kupp to play, but maybe not at 100%, kind of like Jonathan Taylor. Rashad Bateman, foot sprain, he's out multiple weeks. Just injuries keep on coming for Rashad Bateman. So maybe this helps out Duvernay and makes him actually fantasy relevant now. Christian Watson, concussion. He's week to week. So he's another guy that keeps getting injured, but I guess it's good to see that it's a concussion and maybe not something that's going to linger and he's going to have to deal with the rest of the season. So expect him back possibly as soon as this week. Mark Andrews had a knee and a shoulder injury. He's likely to continue to play at less than 100%. Just like Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp, essentially.
He's the king of just playing injured. I feel like that house of cards is going to come down eventually for Mark Andrews. He's always hurt, and that just does not usually work out.
I remember the announcer even said on the broadcast of that game, like, you're going to have to cut his leg off for him to, like, stop playing. Like, he's going to try and play through as much possible stress that he can.
He was always hurt at OU, so this goes deep.
And I think it
keeps playing.
It was something with his AC joint, maybe, like just a sprain.
He landed pretty hard on that shoulder.
So he can't just get some type of an injection. It's really just the pain that he's going to have to deal with. But, I mean, if Mark Andrews playing just like Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp, I mean, if they're playing and active, you can't sit them.
I feel like, yeah, like we kind of said, his injuries are just going to end up piling up at this point. They run him across the middle a lot, and I'm like Travis Kelce's gotten to an age where he's like, I'm just going to fall down at this point. Like, unless I'm fighting for yards, like to get a first down on 3rd and 4th down, he's like falling down kind of. He's not trying to take big hits or anything like that. And Mark Andrews, like, he embraces that kind of shit almost.
He's not quite like Trav, where he can avoid those big hits.
And so I think that, like you said, is going to catch up with him here real quick.
And at the tight end position here as well, Irv Smith suffered an ankle injury, lands on IR. So Irv Smith was slightly fantasy relevant, probably really the bottom of the barrel at the tight end position. So you're going to have to reach even further down that for another tight end to replace Irv Smith. That's all you had. And then another kind of lead us into the news section here. Cordero Patterson, he's designated to return off IR. Doubt he plays this week, but expect him here relatively soon. And we weren't able to talk about it on the pod last week, but this trade did go down last week.
Well, yeah, it was trade deadline. This was probably the most. This was the most active trade deadline. This was like an NBA like trade deadline type esque shit.
There was two things like at the like buzzer
beaters. Yeah, it was a crazy fucking trade deadline.
And the Chiefs got into it a little bit, and they did this last week, but they acquired Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver from the Giants, and he's kind of been a guy that this is his second year in the NFL, I believe. He was a first-round pick out of Florida for the Giants, and he showed a lot of potential last year. I don't want to say he's Tyreek Hill.
He was a league winner for me last year because all of a sudden he was on my roster and he did good 1 week in a row. I was like, okay. And then he did it the second week in a row. And so it came to the third week in a row and I was like, I got to put this dude in. And then he finished off like a 4-game tear. That was just what I needed to win that league.
Yeah, he kind of became a PPR monster. And he's not Tyreek Hill, but he's one of the closest things to Tyreek Hill just with his speed, athleticism, and how shifty he is. So throwing him into an Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes offense that can utilize and get the best out of their players, and it's already a crowded wide receiver room, so I don't know. I think Toney needs to be rostered in all formats, but it'll be interesting to see if he'll be an asset that you can rely on to start in your roster for the rest of the season. But for Dynasty, this is certainly interesting for like the foreseeable future. We don't know if we're going to re-sign Juju next year. We don't know if we're going to pull out a contract for Mecole Hardman next year. Mm-hmm. So Kadarius Toney could be in line to be a starter for the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, which is fantastic for your fantasy football value.
100%.
Picked him up.
Yeah, we have him for at least the next 3 years plus his fifth year option. One thing I found really interesting, since 2017, the Chiefs have acquired one way or another 17 former first round draft picks. Since 2017.
Dude.
Here's the list. Darrelle Revis, CJ Spiller, Cam Irving, Sammy Watkins, Kelvin Benjamin, DeAndre Baker, Taco Charlton, Kyle Long, Mike Hughes, Melvin Ingram, Danny Shelton, Corey Coleman, and Kadarius Toney.
Sounds like a bunch of underwhelming first-round draft picks.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That is an interesting step.
Cam Irving played multiple years at a decent level for us. Sammy Watkins, say what you want. When he was healthy, when he was healthy, he was a difference maker. I would say he's a large reason why we won the Super Bowl. Kelvin Benjamin, obviously a bust. DeAndre Baker, that experiment didn't work. When he was in, he was decent, but I think that leg injury he suffered towards the end of the 2020 season really kind of messed with him.
We were talking about Mike Hughes the other day.
Yeah.
Mike Hughes was awful.
Yeah, Mike Hughes. He was a decent punt returner, but we never used him as a punt returner. Kyle Long, he sat on the inactive list for most of the season. Taco Charlton, mostly irrelevant. Melvin Ingram, A lot of fans really wanted him to stay in Kansas City. He was doing very well for us, provided that veteran leadership.
He might be the best one on that list.
Yeah. Danny Shelton, he's on our practice squad, I believe.
Yeah, that's
right
that big
now.
defensive lineman.
Yeah.
He played a lot in the preseason.
And then Corey Coleman, that didn't work out this year, and then Kadarius Toney. But even going back before 2017, Ben Grubbs, Jeremy Maclin, big Mizzou fan.
Yes, sir. J-Mac.
AJ Jenkins, and then Alex Smith in 2013. So those were all the guys since.
So we're due for one to actually hit
Yeah.
and benefit us.
Mm-hmm. And I think as long as he stays healthy, he can learn the playbook. I think this is definitely a trade, not necessarily to benefit this year, but moving forward, especially when we only have MVS and Justin Ross,
Sky
Moore. Those are our three running
locked in
Jesus
for next year.
Christ. Yeah, so definitely need that guy. I don't think we're keeping Mecole, and as long as Juju keeps performing like this, I don't know if we'll be able to afford him to stay on our roster moving forward, which is a good thing, I guess, for him and for us.
You'd think he'd want to try and stick around, but at Juju's age, he's not like he's old, but he hasn't had that big, fat contract yet that a lot of guys have had at this point.
He took a hometown discount to stay in Pittsburgh last year. He's like, I want to run it back.
1 year fucking prove it deal.
And he's proving it, and so he deserves to go out and get paid. And maybe he really likes Pat, and he's willing to stay somewhere and have some continuity with a quarterback and build that.
I hope
repetition.
so. I hope he stays.
But it's gonna. I think the bottom line for him is going to be like $15 million a year, and I don't know if the Chiefs are wanting to do that. I think if you can get him from 10 to 13 a year, that'd be great. But I guess it all depends on.
The wide receiver market has exploded. He's probably going to want close to 20.
Yeah, is he more valuable to the Chiefs than Christian Kirk is to the Jaguars? I would say so.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
So, yeah.
So moving on. So these trades kind of were within days of the NFL trade deadline. If not the day of. Was the Hawkinson, Claypool?
Yeah,
was that all the same day?
Yeah, that was the same day.
So all of these are on the trade deadline day, which was Tuesday. The trade deadline was at 3 p.m. But first one here, the Lions send tight end T.J. Hawkinson to the Vikings. So we mentioned Irv Smith placed on IR. The Vikings are 6-1, I want to say. They've only got one loss. They are looking like a really good team that are pushing for a playoff run, and they needed to add a guy like T.J. Hawkinson.
They haven't really had any good quarterback play since Kyle Rudolph?
Any good tight end play since Kyle Rudolph?
Yeah.
Yeah, Irv Smith has kind of been that guy. You're hoping he kind of breaks out and does it, but he hasn't been able to, dealt with injuries. So T.J. Hawkinson is a much more sturdy asset, and I don't think this improves Hawkinson's position for fantasy much. I think this just really helps Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I can't believe that there was another, because we were talking shit preseason when they made that trade the first time that let Detroit get Jamison Williams, and now they're out here fucking doing this.
I know.
In the
Again,
division. It's kind of weird.
I agree.
I agree. Moving on, and the Lions got a good return for him too, a second and a fourth round pick, I believe. So good on the Lions for getting those picks, trying to rebuild there. It seems like they're in the 40th year of their rebuild.
I think they're already set to have the number one pick as it stands right now.
Yeah.
So adding more picks to that with already a ton of young talent, I think it is a good move.
And then another trade here for a second round pick. The Steelers send Chase Claypool to the Bears for a second round pick. This was kind of surprising if you ask me. Claypool is a young guy. You have a young quarterback trying to,
Amari Cooper went to the Browns for a fifth. So the Browns, Bears got...
that trade stands as a really good trade, the Amari Cooper trade.
It does now with the wide receiver market where it's at now. But, at the time, I think Amari Cooper was like the second highest paid wide receiver. And
they were begging to get rid of him.
And had a stupid high cap hit. And so I think at the time, the Cowboys were just looking for some cap relief anywhere they could find it.
Is trash. He's not going to do anything in Chicago.
So he's in his third year. His rookie year was solid. It gave you a lot of hype and thought there would be potential there. And his sophomore year, year two, was just awful. So
the Pittsburgh offense was awful with
Big Ben
at the head.
Off.
So and then
second round pick for Chase Claypool.
I know, and you read it. You're like
on
Chase.
a terrible team like the Bears.
Exactly. You read it, you're like
Fuck.
Chase Claypool to the Bears. Like, this is boring. This is fucked. I don't
Right.
who even fucking
Right.
cares? But I mean, Chase Claypool is a rostered player throughout fantasy, most likely. And I mean, in Dynasty, I mean, he was the wide receiver 3, if not like third. He's the third option there in Pittsburgh on the offense, possibly even fourth with Freiermuth and Najee Harris and with now George Pickens. So, I mean, now that he's in Chicago, I mean, he's a locked-in wide receiver 2, if not possibly pushing to be that wide receiver
he's
1.
I
What
think
is
he's
a
one.
wide receiver 1 in Chicago worth?
With Justin Fields and not throwing the ball a ton, I mean,
I think
it's
this.
not-
I think this more is for the Bears to see if they need a quarterback next year. I think this is truly like if you can't succeed with Chase Claypool and they have the other St. Brown brother,
right, Equanimeous,
yeah, who they have do they have DJ Moore or
Darnell Mooney?
That's what it was. So, I mean, they've got decent offensive weapons at the wide, at least to be serviceable for a quarterback to succeed. I think it's more of a.
I think it's a dog shit wide receiver room.
I think that they made this move because of Justin Fields' progression, and I think he is improving in a way that they like, and they want to give him more weapons and see him improve. I mean, it's not like they're going for the Super Bowl this year. I mean, it's not a 1-year rental.
Second round pick for Chase Claypool.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to find a Chase Claypool in the second round.
That happened on the trade deadline.
I don't know.
So,
and it is news though. It's definitely news, but it's like
that is crazy though. Second round pick.
Stupidest.
Would this trade
anyone did?
Would this trade have been more exciting if you went to the Packers? Because the Packers did offer a second round pick for Claypool, but the Steelers chose the Bears.
It wouldn't have been. I mean,
so you don't think
those teams are,
you don't think Claypool with Rodgers would have made a difference or would have made you excited about him?
I don't know why I would be. Claypool,
You'd certainly be more excited if he was in
Claypool had like
Green Bay.
6-7 good games in one season, and then he went viral on social media, and that's why everyone still thinks he's worth a shit. I mean, he hasn't done anything in Pittsburgh since that 1 year.
Well, clearly the Bears believe in him enough as second round value, so it'll be interesting. I mean, I think this only helps Justin Fields as well. So continuing to rise, it seems, for Justin Fields.
Imagine Chase Claypool being your clear-cut wide receiver 1.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, oh my fuck.
I mean, this is what his stat line's been this year, and I mean, this is decent flex value here. 10, 7, 8. He got 0 against the Jets, which isn't good. 10, 24, 10, 13. I mean, that's decent flex value as far as fantasy goes.
I just feel like he fits into that offense well. Like they've got Darnell Mooney, he's the field stretcher, really good route runner, and then they've got a big guy like Chase Claypool. They can just throw the ball up to him, target him in the red zone, and Equanimeous St. Brown there to just fill in the gaps. But I don't know. It'll be exciting to watch. So let's try and move on here. Dolphins send running back Chase Edmonds to the Broncos as part of the Bradley Chubb deal. So I was a big fan of Chase Edmonds, and I drafted him in a lot of places in drafts early this season. And it's one of my most regretful draft picks probably in fantasy football this year. And I don't think this helps him whatsoever. I mean, he's going to be in a running back committee of 3 fucking players. So this only hurts him because he was the clear-cut number 2 in Miami with Raheem Mostert there as the running back 1, who Mostert, you think of Mostert, you're like, he's one injury away the next play to possibly being injured, and Edmonds is the full-time running back. Now Edmonds doesn't have that opportunity whatsoever, so to make up for losing Edmonds, the Dolphins go out there and acquire 49ers running back Jeff Wilson. And I think that puts Jeff Wilson in the same type of trajectory that you had for Chase Edmonds, being that locked-in running back 2 with one injury away from being that number 1 guy. And I think he's a better running back than Chase Edmonds. So I think Jeff Wilson is certainly worthy of a stash on rosters. So any thoughts on those guys, Chase Edmonds, Jeff Wilson?
Boring. I think both of them just dwindled down into irrelevancy.
Yep. So
I think Chase Edmonds becomes a little bit more fantasy relevant in Denver.
All right, they say Melvin Gordon's still a starter, and I just don't believe it.
No.
I just don't believe it at all. So next one, which was probably the most shocking and interesting trade. It was a complicated trade, but Falcons send wide receiver Calvin Ridley to the Jaguars. And it's a complex trade because it's whether or not when he plays, how much he plays, or something like that. But the Falcons traded him away to the Jaguars for a maximum of a 23 fifth rounder and a 24 second rounder. So Calvin Ridley going to be playing for the Jaguars next season. Trevor Lawrence is going to have some mighty good weapons right there along with Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley.
That was the team that he bet on, which is the funny
right.
part
That's
about
what
this whole trade. He bet on the Falcons to beat the Jags.
It was just meant to be that way.
It's that Arab money sneaking in. This is corrupt.
The Colts send running back Nyheim Hines, I always fuck this guy's name up, to the Bills. Bills didn't quite get the running back they were looking for. I know they were interested in getting Kareem Hunt. They were tied to Alvin Kamara, and they were also tied to Cam Akers for a little bit as well. But
and they wanted J.D. McKissick in the beginning of the season as well. They've been searching for this passing, receiving capable back.
Mm-hmm. And you definitely kind of see that too with them drafting James Cook as well. Like,
I know they really buries James Cook hopes for this season,
right?
And
like I think we talked about this earlier, but he is under contract. Nyheim will be there for
not like a 1-year rental. He should be there for a couple seasons,
right? So maybe they're trying to help James Cook with Nyheim being like that mentor to him, trying to teach him like all of the different mechanics and the nuances of being a pass-catching running back.
Yep.
So,
and Singletary's going to be a free agent next year, so you had no idea if Singletary's
gone. Singletary's gone. But
they also traded away, Zach Moss.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't really care to talk about, but they did get rid of Zach Moss. Yeah. So Zach Moss no longer there in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And no trade for Kareem Hunt and Brandon Cooks. Man, I was sad about this. I wanted Brandon Cooks to be traded to the Packers so fucking bad. Thought it was going to happen. Dude wasn't even practicing on Tuesday, wasn't even at the facility. Like, clearly was about to get traded, and it didn't happen. Similar kind of story for Kareem Hunt. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, they're going to just be right where they've been all season, so nothing exciting.
Also shocking that, like, Ronald Jones didn't get traded. I don't know what the Chiefs are saving him for. He's not, like, a secret weapon by any means, or it was Elijah Moore this time. I got this one right. He was really kind of wanting out and kind of hinting that he was wanting to be traded.
Yeah. And Cam Akers, like you said earlier, too, mm-hmm. He's in a weird spot similar to Elijah Moore.
I mean, at this point, you just have to. I mean, you have to cut Cam Akers, right?
You might have to.
You can't keep him on the roster.
I mean, they certainly can. He might not like it.
Just do nothing? You're just going to be paying this guy? Because he was a first-round pick, was he not?
Oh, they'll start playing him as much as they'd like. Oh, I don't remember if he was a first-round pick. He was a really highly touted guy out of Florida State, though. Mm-hmm. He was, I mean, if it wasn't first round, it was second round.
Yeah, I just can't remember if he was like the 31st overall pick or not. But, I mean, if you just want to... Because it sounds like his issue is with... Like, they both don't like each other, so...
He probably just doesn't like it there in L.A. or something.
I don't know.
I think just a lot of things kind of come into fruition for him.
But
still not 100% maybe with his full-speed burst with that Achilles injury he suffered last year. But that's kind of it for the trades. A lot of action. Most busy trade deadline day ever. I think there was like 10 trades that actually went through. So... We are heading into week 9, so there are a ton of teams on bye this week. So just wanted to throw it in here, the new section. Steelers, Browns, Giants, 49ers, Broncos, Cowboys, all on bye. You don't get to play Tony Pollard like you did last week and get almost 30 points. If not, I think you might have had over 30 points. I don't remember. But
no Nick Chubb, no Saquon Barkley, no Blue Eyes White Privilege.
Those hurt,
shit,
man.
Who else? I mean... Yeah.
No Brandon Ayuk, who's like a top 15 wide receiver right now.
Right.
Debo, Pollard.
Yep. Debo too.
Might need more time to recover.
Debo would like another week to recover. So
CD Lamb.
Hopefully he's back after the bye. But that's pretty much it for the news and the injury report. If you didn't know already, we pull a lot of this information from the... On Sleeper, they've got a news and alert section where you can go click on and scroll down and see notes and notifications in real time. So if you haven't used that or used that in the past, that's one of the first things that I look at sometimes in the morning when I'm pulling up my fantasy rosters to go check those alerts. So something to keep in mind and always keep tabs on. So, Nick, your fastest 2 minutes. Let's get into what happened in week 8 of the LOC league.
In our first matchup, it was JT and Company handing the Warboys their 7th L. Things are looking bleak for the Warboys as Ty Freak Hill goes for 32 points without scoring a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor Swift is more worried about the new album, but ABC DJ Moore made up the difference, adding 30. JT and Company 159, Warboys 138.
What?
Moving on to our next showdown, we saw the London Bridge serve up a second consecutive L to Lance Refrigeration. The Bridge held nothing back as he unleashed a nuclear 68-point duo, which featured Jalen Definitely a Sooner Hurts and AJ Antonio Brown. Dalvin was cooking, but the Fridge ultimately left the door open all night. London Bridge 185, Lance Refrigeration 168. Our next contest featured the surging Jamario Bros escaping a tight, endless team RDC 22. The Dreadlocks were everywhere as Dion, Dr. Dre Hopkins, and large man Derrick Henry contribute 70 points respectively. Jamarless Joe had a spooky Halloween performance, but in the end, the final score is all that matters. Jamario Bros 168, Team RDC 22 150. In our next tilt, we find the trade deadline has been very kind to a certain Galactic Empire as he clobbers the Ramondre Raptors in Week 8. CMC has found his privilege in the San Fran Sun, and Travis ESPN ETN is unhinged following a J-Rob move up north. It wasn't all bad for the Raptors as Jalen was waddling and Ramondre was raptoring, but it was Tony Soprano Pollard's 35 that proved definitive. Galactic Empire 192, Ramondre Raptors 158. Rounding off an incredible Week 8, we had a surging Sunshine Squad lay a beatdown on the Arrowhead Choppas. In our new Pause the Pod, look at the roster,
Pause it.
resume the pod, Team of the Week, the Sunshine Squad is looking pretty scary. Alvin and the Chipmunks Kamara is doing those things again, while Steph the Fuck Off Me Diggs and Nick Chubb continue to punish the competition. Sunshine Squad 191, Arrowhead Choppas 148.
There you have it, Nick's fastest 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I got fucking boned this week by guys having just big days. Fucking CMC, passing, rushing, receiving touchdowns.
First time since 05 a player's done that, I think.
I knew from that moment on that I was fucked. It also sucked that I had every single guy on my roster play at the 12 o'clock slot except for one.
Right. So
And
you
so it
knew
just,
pretty quick.
Yeah, I just knew. Like, I had like 130, I think, after the 12 o'clock slot. And then after that, it's just like watching his number get bigger and bigger and like, fuck.
Yep. I feel your pain. I played against the Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown stack this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts stack in a different league. So they've connected on 3 touchdowns. I think one was 40-plus yards. So that's just kind of unbeatable at times.
It's kind of how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately.
I played against it last week with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. So I'm on a 2-game losing streak because of these crazy stacks that some teams have. It just shows you that this is almost a cheat code.
Are stacks the way to go?
I really think so. I mean, that was a big reason why I went out and traded for Marquise Brown to stack him with Kyler Murray, and it allowed me to get off to a fast start. Obviously, he's been missing a lot of time, and D-Hop's back, so we'll see how that goes rest of season. But, I mean, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase, I mean, those are some of the most lethal stacks ever. It makes me wonder why in the hell did Nick ever trade away Stephon Diggs when he has Josh Allen as his quarterback?
For Breece Hall.
Yep, that's fair. We love Breece Hall here. So don't fault it, but
I've gotten to the point in the season where Kelsey is actively rooting against me,
right?
Just so that I can stop, so I can officially be out of playoff contention.
Wait,
and
Travis
I can
Kelce personally?
No.
Yep, Travis Kelce.
Or was
Yes.
it Jason?
That's kind of rude.
Yeah, she doesn't want me talking about fantasy anymore. So we
got to get her on her own team next year so she understands what it feels like and the highs and the lows that come with fantasy football.
What if we?
I'd love to get Katie involved
What
too.
if we brought Kelsey in as our producer?
That's my job.
You're just going to take Zach's job.
Yikes.
Okay, well, let's move on here. So, Nick, you had a pretty good record this week for your Knicks picks of the week in week 8.
I know. I went 4-1, okay, I'm on fire. That puts me at 23-17 on the season. Give me your money. I'll make you money. I make a little bit more on the side as a fee.
23-17 on the season. Yeah, that 4-1 week. I mean, you almost went 5-0. I mean, was this your best week? Have you ever gone 4-1? Is this your best total?
I've had a 4-1 up there. Let's look at the board. Yeah, week five.
Gotcha. So you've done 4-1 before. Perfect.
Yeah. So we're rocking. Here is what happened. We just went over it, but here's what happened. JT and Company over the War Boys. Correct. Lance Refrigeration over London Bridge. That was my only miss.
Sorry.
I know. What the fuck?
I thought it'd be a good week with Pat Mahomes and Eckler on bye, but didn't matter.
No, it did not. That was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Pretty scary performance from the Bridge.
Yes.
Jamario Bros over RDC 22. I mean, Jamario Bros still scares me. I'm telling you, he's the sleeping giant in this league. Like, he's finding ways to win games like this. I mean, it was RDC 22 who should be in last instead of me. But he did all of that with Joe Burrow not doing shit. I'm telling you, that's going to click eventually.
And he had Jamar out this week.
Exactly. That team scares the shit out of me.
But hopefully, I mean, it's a weird injury that Jamar's dealing with, so hopefully he's back for the Jamario Bros, because definitely does bring his team down with no Jamar Chase. But let's maybe hop into. Did you go through all the matchups? Was that the last one?
Galactic Empire over the Raptors. That was correct. Sunshine Squad over the Choppas. That was also correct.
Nice. No, good week. Well, I'm excited to see your picks for Week 9 here towards the end, but let's just go. We got a few headlines here to pull from LOC. So there was a trade that went down here today on Wednesday between JT Company and Team RDC 22. We've got DeAndre Hopkins being traded to JT and Company for a 23 first-round pick and a 23 third-round pick. So 2 picks, 1 first round. And
I'm playing RDC 22 this week.
Oh, so yeah, should be an easy win.
It was going to be before that. It was going to be before that.
But JT and Company making a win now move, adding a guy that's a set it and fucking forget it, and could maybe carry him into the playoffs and possibly the championship.
This is a very
yeah.
Move.
He's a PPR monster.
And you add DeAndre Hopkins to Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill.
And maybe, I mean, who the fuck knows with Jonathan fucking Taylor? Who the fuck knows? He's
got JT.
Screwing me all year, but who the fuck knows? It's still a scary name to look at.
Absolutely. I mean, there's still upside there to be had. But, yeah, I love the trade. And Ryan, our Team RDC 22, he really needed to get back into the first round for the rookie draft next year, because he traded away his first-round pick for A.J. Dillon before the season started, which was maybe possibly the worst trade that has happened. A.J. Dillon has been absolutely awful, but Ryan gets back into the first round.
I am not tanking, but it looks like I'm going to have a very good 2 first-round picks next year.
Right, that certainly helps. And a good class.
I have fucking Breece Hall right now. I have Olave right now. That's just from this year's haul. You're telling me next year that Breece Hall, you know what I'm saying? Next year, you're telling me I'm going to get another 2 dudes? Y'all are fucked.
Better pick the right guys.
And I'm not tanking. I will never tank. The War Boys will never tank.
Yeah, I don't think... I mean, there's tanking, I think, how it should go. If you want to trade away top guys to get picks, like older guys like DeAndre Hopkins to get picks, and you're like rebuilding and you're tanking technically, you still need to set your best lineup week in and week out. You can't bench...
I would be so worried about me in 2025. You guys are fucked.
Yeah. That's a long way away, bud. Hopefully the league's still around then, which we have no choice but to have this league forever. So trade deadline is coming up week 11. So not a whole lot of time to make any win now moves, or if you want to sell off pieces for 23 picks, you have to wait till after the season. So trade deadline is week 11. So Galactic Empire, he was the best team of the week. Congratulations, Jared. War Boys, worst team of the week. Bullshit. Congratulations, Nick.
This is bullshit. Again, I'm just going to say this one more time. I should be second to last, okay? I should not be in last place. I should be second to last.
But your record says that you're last.
Shouldn't you be more thrilled to be last because that locks you in for Bijan?
No. You know what? No, because we don't tank around here. We fucking care about hanging banners, bringing home trophies. So this is a disgusting performance. There's all
Bijan's a pretty good trophy.
There's all kinds of turmoil in the fucking locker room with the War Boys right now. They're working through all kinds of different shit. but it is absurd that I am not 9th and I am 10th. That's bullshit.
Yep. So there's a few losing streaks going on right now. Lance Refrigeration, I am on a 2-game losing streak. War Boys, Nick, 3-game losing streak. And Team RDC on a 5-game
with only one win
losing
total,
streak.
So I started the fucking season on a 4-game losing streak. This
Jesus.
is not good.
So the longest win streak in the league is 2. So it's a really competitive league. Galactic Empire and Sunshine Squad are the only 2 teams with a win streak currently of 2 games. And as of currently, with these current standings, it would have the War Boys, Ramondosaurus Rex, Arrowhead Chappas, and Team RDC 22 all missing the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops, and we'll maybe keep tabs on that in the next few weeks.
Starting to become more and more definitive. I think I'm not making the playoffs. RDC's not making the playoffs. It's more and more starting to seem like the Raptors are going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, it does seem pretty set.
And then the Chappas are probably not going to make the playoffs at the end. I think this is starting to become very definitive.
I think unless things really start to fall my or the Chappa's way, not making the playoffs. And I'm kind of coming to terms with that. It's going to be a battle
over that final spot.
Yeah, that 6th spot is really going to be teetering because, let me see, I had this pulled up here just a second ago.
Yeah, so, and as it stands currently, Lance Refrigeration and London Bridge would have first-round buys. So we do have first-round buys. Playoffs do start in week 15. Just 6 more weeks till the playoffs. Right. It's crazy how fast this is rolling. But did you have that pulled up, Zach?
Yeah, I did. So currently, right now, Galactic Empire is 4-4. They're at the 6th spot there. I'm there. And
they're significantly better
because of the trade.
Everyone else below them,
right?
Yeah, and the trade. I mean, the trade just helps, but like there is a very clear top half and bottom half of our league.
Yeah,
I think has taken form this year.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm there. He's there at 4-4. I'm right behind him at 3-5, and then Arrowhead Chop is at 3-5. So things really have to start rolling a certain way for us to trying to sneak in. We've got to get really lucky and hope some players perform the way you want them to.
And I've scored more points than 4 other teams this year. Just going to sneak that in real quick.
What's your points allowed? That also
it doesn't look good.
That's
also not good. But you guys didn't want to have this.
It's all about matchups.
Last week.
It's all about matchups.
I know. So I have this just horrible start to the fucking year, and then I roll into buys, and then I get sprinkled in with injuries. So I have injuries and buys just when I'm like, this is where you can maybe try and rebound a little bit, and it's like, no, buys, injuries.
Oh, so
I'm going.
So like football.
I'm going.
So like fantasy football.
Year.
You're the seventh high. You're the 7th highest in points for.
Yeah, you hear that?
And you're last.
You hear that?
So you're second. You're second to last.
That's what I said before the pod. I'm compromising, saying I should be in 9th.
You have the most. 10th. You have the most points against. So that's your problem.
You guys hear that? All you listeners out there, compromise, saying I should be at 9th. Compromise. This is fucking.
It's okay. Even if
I said, y'all are fucked in 2025.
Just don't win the toilet bowl. It's okay to get last because you get Bijan. Don't win the toilet bowl and have to wear the toilet seat at the draft next year.
Yeah, I'm not putting my name on that shit. It won't be done. It's going to be RDC 22.
Yeah, just don't lose the toilet bowl.
It's going to be an RDC 22.
We'll see.
I love the toilet bowl. That's such an interesting thing for Sleeper that not other platforms have. Mm-hmm. Sleeper's the best fantasy out.
Not sponsored.
And I mean, we were all together on Halloween, and we had some people walking by, and this mom came by. She's 8-0 in her league. She's got it on Sleeper. I was like, "Let's go! You know what the fuck you're doing."
And you weren't even hyping up the pod, Nick. You got to be advertising.
Yeah,
you got to be spreading it around.
Your neighbors need this type of info,
right?
Not her.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly, she needs to make her own.
Yeah.
She needs to make her own.
We need to have her as a guest.
She said she runs the fucking league year in and year out too.
So
I feel like that's
fucking
true
funny.
Too. I do remember hearing that.
So let's get into the segment here. We're gonna do just a random segment here before we get into the Knicks picks for Week 9. Want to kind of go through and do just some start-sit decisions, whether these are players that are like on our rosters throughout fantasy. We tried to pull some from just other random rosters, but we've got 5 start-sit decisions here. We don't need to go too in depth. Let's just see who we would pick. I mean, I think these are all pretty good. I think you could maybe go either way.
Can we start with mine?
Yeah, so yours was the quarterback one?
Yeah, and this is a personal decision I have to make, and this is a league where Jonathan Taylor is letting me down in that league. That's
So
my
you're
first
searching for
overall pick.
upside. So
yeah,
Tua, yes.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
Tua,
sorry.
Tua, J Herb.
Tua.
J Herb.
Tua.
My heart tells me Tua.
I agree. I think you go Tua.
Nerds tell me J Herb, but
J Herb doesn't
I'm gonna
have
rock Tua.
J Herb doesn't have Mike Williams, and who
Doesn't-
knows if Keenan Allen's
I think
100%.
Keenan Allen said he's not playing until
J
he's
Herb
100% again.
projected 21-something points. Tua's projected 18-something points.
I would go Tua.
Yeah, I'm going
Tua all day.
That's what I was
Who does
thinking.
Tua play?
Well, that was easy.
I know. Well, J Herb's playing Atlanta. I know that's part of it, and I
Yeah.
believe
Atlanta
Tua's playing Chi-Town.
Atlanta is always a
So-
defense you want to target with your quarterback, so that does make it a little bit more interesting
But-
thinking of the matchup.
Tua's
Tua plays
playing
Chicago.
Chicago.
My thought is with Atlanta, they're just going to run away with it to the point where they might just start running the football and even maybe get to a point where they pull.
The Chargers
Yeah,
running the football?
My heart
What?
tells me Tua because Tyreek Hill is there. That's really all you need to know. Like,
Yep. All right. If you got
Yeah,
Tua,
I
J
would go
Herb,
Tua,
throw Tua in.
Tua
Baby.
all day.
So a couple running backs here: Michael Carter or Antonio Gibson.
Oh my fuck! Who are they playing?
Michael Carter plays the Buffalo Bills, and Antonio Gibson plays
I like Gibson.
the Minnesota Vikings.
I like Gibson.
So they're both projected right around 10 points. You guys are both saying Gibson?
I like
Actually,
Gibson.
no, I like Carter. I'll go with Michael Carter.
I think you could flip a coin. I really don't think it matters. I think you would maybe just lean towards Gibson with how dominant the
Right.
Buffalo
Right.
defense is. And it's a whole nother week for James Robinson to get implemented into the offense. So it could be, Michael
The
Carter's...
implementation week though. We just saw CMC. He took his implementation.
Oh, I guess
Well,
I
that's
did. I did forget.
CMC.
I forgot they have James Robinson.
Is a bad motherfucker. Okay,
Yeah.
James Robinson is a bad motherfucker.
I would go Gibson. Yeah, I switch. Minnesota's defense is really good as well. As long as
I just contradicted myself.
the Commanders can keep this game semi-close within a score or 10 points, I think they won't abandon the run game. So I think Gibson might have more upside in that. Yeah,
Where the Commanders do abandon the run game and don't hand the ball off to Brian Robinson 17 times, and they need to bring in Antonio Gibson for his pass catching
right.
capability. So I'll go Gibson too. I'll fall in line with you guys. I like it. Next one is a three-parter: CEH or AJ Dillon or Khalil Herbert.
This was also one of mine.
This one's really difficult.
I think you can scratch AJ Dillon
Yes.
from this.
Yes.
I think you scratch AJ Dillon.
I had Clyde, AJ Dillon.
I had Clyde and Khalil.
Yep. So we added Herbert in there as well. But
The nerds have a 0.2 differential to Clyde's favor.
so
going into this
we'll
game.
put AJ Dillon there third. So between CEH or Khalil Herbert, I think
Clyde.
I would still lean Clyde, knowing he's the starter. I know Khalil Herbert's been looking pretty good in that limited role that he has there in Chicago. But they did just add Chase Claypool. They do have a running quarterback. And CEH, he is touchdown dependent, but he's got pretty good odds at touchdown week in and week out. So I like CEH
This is
there.
crazy. So Khalil Herbert, you would say, is the backup there in Chicago, correct? Guess what his player rank is as a running back, and guess what
I don't
Clyde's
want
is.
anything
I bet-
to do with anyone that has Chicago Bears written in front of their name.
Well, that's just immature.
I don't think so.
So Clyde, you're asking where Khalil Herbert's ranked on the season? I'll give him running back 22.
And what do you think Clyde is?
Clyde's probably like closer to, he's like 30, 32.
Well, Clyde was in top 5 earlier,
Okay.
like 2 weeks ago.
What
Okay,
is it? What
then
do we
I'll do
Clyde-
20 on the dot.
Clyde is 21. Khalil Herbert is 20.
Dang, so they're right there neck and neck.
They're neck and neck. Looking at Khalil, like 11, 5, 30. He scored 31 points earlier this season.
That was
11,
his 2
1.
touchdown game.
Yeah.
Monty went down early in the game.
Yep. And then he had 1, 8, 16 back-to-back weeks against New England and at Dallas. He can play at home against Miami, whose defense has kind of been suspect, but
He's a fantastic running back when he receives carries.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fucking, they've got David Montgomery there.
But he is a very good pass catching option, and I don't think they get that with David Montgomery. He's a free agent after this year, isn't he?
I think so. That sounds right.
So-
He's about to be in his
I think
fifth
Khalil
year,
Herbert is
if
a
he's not already.
Khalil Herbert might be a sneaky, like, decent addition if they don't want to try and draft into that running back
Newly
room.
acquired by the
Right.
Romandrosaurus Rex.
Yeah, that's a KU product right there. He played at KU for 3 years and he transferred.
He's a Virginia Tech product.
Nah, he was good at KU.
Jalen definitely as soon as hurts, so that's how I play that game.
But
Yep. So we'll looks like we're picking CEH over Khalil Herbert though. We sticking to that?
Are we doing
We're
this
going
week?
Clyde.
This week
This
against
week.
against
Clyde,
Tennessee?
Clyde,
Yes.
Clyde.
I might have to go Khalil Herbert. I have
Clyde.
both of them. I'm going to start CEH just because I do think there's a little bit more upside.
Clyde.
I think there's more risk, but a lot more reward.
The Bears are at a way bigger risk of just losing outright and entirely, and they'll have to be trying to air it out.
And the Bears play. Who do they play?
Miami at home.
Yeah, I mean, that is a tough one. I'll go CEH. So next one here, Devonta Smith or Garrett Wilson.
This is another one of mine. And, I mean,
Matchups.
let me pull this up.
So Devonta Smith has been a really good wide receiver this season.
Garrett Wilson plays Buffalo at home, and Devontae plays at Houston, who has the second best pass defense. Devontae last week scored 7 against... Who the fuck did they play?
Yeah, every time A.J. Brown has a big week, Devonta Smith doesn't have a big week. And every time Devonta Smith has had a good week, A.J. Brown hasn't had a good week. So it's a tough ride to ride.
It's Devonta Smith's turn against a bad football team.
I think I would lean Garrett Wilson with Breece Hall going down. I mean, I know they play the Buffalo Bills, but
That
Garrett,
means they're going to be throwing the football.
they're going to have plenty of opportunities to get the ball into Garrett Wilson's hands. And I think the offense might start running through Garrett Wilson. And he is a dynamic player. He's put up 30-plus fantasy points already this season. And I like his upside a little bit more this week than Devonta Smith.
Well,
especially with how A.J. Brown is really coming together.
Let me flip-flop this then. So are you guys both on Garrett Wilson?
Nope.
That's
no,
what I'm.
Okay, so
That's the side I'm on.
All right.
I'll pick Garrett.
all
I
right,
don't.
here.
I feel like it's such a hard decision. Like if it was actually like I can easily sit here and say Garrett Wilson, but if I actually had to decide, I don't know. It's tough.
Here, I'll flip-flop this then. MVS or Devontae Smith?
Devonta Smith.
No, yeah, that one's less close.
Or here, Nick, MVS or Garrett Wilson?
Garrett Wilson.
Interesting.
So do you guys Devonta Smith or Garrett? I mean, I know it was yours. Are you leaning any certain way right now with it, Zach?
It doesn't matter what I decide because
Devontae.
whoever I start is going to score me 7 and whoever's on my bench is going to have 30, so
Right.
it doesn't fucking matter.
Funny how that goes. Maybe just pick the opposite one you normally would, and hopefully that would work out.
Well, I'm going to put both of them in and I'm going to sit MVS this week, I guess.
There you go. I like that
Even
idea.
though MVS had back-to-back 16-point games.
Right on. Okay, last start-sit decision here between Curtis Samuel or Drake London. Both receivers have shown the talent and shown the fantasy relevance,
This
but
gives me AIDS.
they haven't been able to show it quite as much as of late. It seems like Curtis Samuel is still getting targets that you like to see. He gets used in the run game some as well. But with Heineke in town, how is that offense has been humming along a little bit better, but it seems like he maybe involves Terry McLaurin a little bit more than Samuel does. And, I mean, we all believe in Drake London's talent, but he's in the rush-heavy offense of Atlanta with a fucking running quarterback.
Desmond Ridder, please.
I agree. I think that would help.
And I even have Marcus Mariota, and he's so frustrating. I'm going Samuel.
Here.
I would go. I'm gonna fall in line with you guys here too. Curtis Samuel, yep, over Drake London. I think in one league I'm in a spot where I need to start both of them.
Only because they're playing the Chargers. Really, I don't think there's too much separation here. But Drake London has had one big game this year and very let down everything else. So
yeah, I'm not scared of the Chargers defense either. So Curtis Samuel could be a decent flex option this week here in week 9. So
have the Chargers fired their team trainer or team doctor? Anybody know?
The one that punctured Tyrod Taylor's lungs? Is that the one you're talking about?
I guess it doesn't matter. I mean,
I don't think so.
It just seems like every fucking key player on their team gets hurt.
Yeah, they have gone through the ringer there.
I mean, Herbert,
J.C. Jackson just got hurt.
Yeah,
that
Herbert,
corner they acquired.
Safety. Oh no, yeah. I was thinking of who's their really good safety that they have. I can't think of his fucking name.
He's the dude that squares up with Trav every time.
He's the one who pile drove him into the ground. That was fucking
God
awesome.
dang it. What is his name?
I
Darius.
should make this mic fucking taller.
Who
You
knows?
probably should. But yeah, I mean, J.C. Jackson, Justin Herbert's been hurt. Keenan Allen's been hurt again. Mike Williams been hurt again. Eckler was kind of banged up.
It's going to
this
continue to
season,
be
so
the Eckler show, obviously.
It's just been fucking wild. But yeah, I would probably go Curtis Samuel here.
Okay, well that'll round out the start-sit decisions that we've had here this week, and it was Derwin James we were talking about,
yeah.
who we were trying to figure out there. Derwin James, he's still healthy, maybe the best player there on the defense outside of Joey Bosa. But Nick, do you have your picks locked in and ready to roll here for Week 9 of LOC?
I do, and this is the first 5-0 week of the year.
You're calling it out?
Yeah, this is 5-0 because I am no longer a variable in the decision. War Boys over Team RDC 22, easy. Lance Refrigeration over Arrowhead Choppers, easy.
Sweet.
This one's a little bit tougher, and there's a tougher one for my game of the week. London Bridge over JT and Company. That's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough. Jamario Bros over the Raptors. I really like this here. Game of the week is going to be Sunshine Squad over the Galactic Empire. Okay. That's game of the week because of the current standings that they're sitting at right now. If you pull up that shit, all the fucking guns are on bye on both rosters. All the fucking big guns. Talking Nick Chubb. Stephon Diggs is still out there, but CMC's not out there. Kittle is not out there for the Sunshine Squad. So you got all kinds of dudes are on bye. This was the hardest game for me to make a decision on who was going to win. And based on that, I made that game of the week.
And you picked, who did you pick to win?
Sunshine Squad.
That would kind of be an upset. I mean, I think Brooks needs to go in and set his fucking roster here.
Mm-hmm.
But
you picked quite a few
like
upsets.
Deontay Johnson, talking like dudes are on bye. Dudes are on bye in this matchup, and it's very critical at this point in the season given both of their records. Like CMC is on bye. I
right.
mean,
can't rely on a 40-point game from CMC this week, Galactic Empire. Let's see how that goes.
Or a 30-point game. Yeah, I'm something mad about that. I don't want to talk about it.
Bro, CMC, he might be the best running back now in football.
Maybe of all time.
For fantasy, possibly, dude. I mean,
he might
his
be
trajectory,
the best fantasy football player of all time.
If they're going to have him throw a pass once a game, and we might be in good shape.
I fucking went up against CMC, Tony Pollard, and ETN all in the same week.
Oof.
You did not win.
I rostered a team that had CMC and Alvin Kamara on the same team this week.
And you won.
Yes.
Ugh. I'm disgusted. You know what I'm kind of excited for? You talked about Joey Bosa for the Chargers. I can't wait for your boy Trey Lance to lead the 49ers to a 2-15 season and them
next year,
and them trade Nick Bosa to the Chiefs. And
okay.
On the fourth year of his deal at the trade deadline.
I hate that, but if the Chiefs get Nick Bosa,
I don't think we can afford that shit. Fucking
no,
Christ.
dude. Imagine Trey Lance cannot fail with these weapons next year. A little too soon to dive into that, but fucking A, dude.
Drake.
I can't
What
wait.
are we gonna do with you? You need a therapist.
I know Trey Lance is the death of me.
Who do they have as receivers other than Debo?
Debo and Brandon fucking Ayuk, bro.
They do have Ayuk.
George Kittle,
The number
I mean,
13
fuck.
ranked wide receiver currently. Dude's a fucking monster with his when he
Kittle's
gets
a
targets.
semi-non-factor.
Yeah,
He's a blocker. He's a glorified left tackle.
and hopefully, I mean, he's getting older. Hopefully, he's not gonna get injured.
That was a hot take. I take it back, George Kittle.
George Kittle don't haunt us.
But yeah, I see it. Nick Bosa to the Chiefs. We're gonna do a little rain
Dude,
dance
yeah.
to make it happen.
Oh yeah, and we got Trent McDuffie's back, so let's put that into in existence. Trent McDuffie is going to be the next great corner of the NFL.
And maybe George Karlaftis finally gets his
Yeah, fuck, I kind of forget about the Furious George.
Did you see that spin move that was it Chubb? Not Chubb. Who's the defensive end for the Browns?
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett, his spin move that he had the left tackle and the running back come in and chip on him, and he just spun them both out and got the sack on
that dude's a monster.
Joe. It was fucking incredible. God, I wanted us to trade for a defensive end.
I know. Not getting Josh Allen there. I mean, there was the Jaguars, Josh Allen, because there was actually rumors out there about it, and I mean, it's hard to believe it, those, and you got to really wait to see it when it happens, but was a little bit disappointed that the Chiefs didn't do anything else.
I said this before the pod, and I know, like I said, I know offensive tackle is going to be a position of need that the Chiefs are going to have to fill. But if we didn't trade for Jags Josh Allen because we wanted to keep a first-round pick, because the draft is in Kansas City, and we stay at pick 29 through 32 and draft a fucking offensive tackle, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Offensive tackle is not a sexy pick that you get your fucking fan base
especially
in your hometown.
at the end of the first round.
That's not an exciting pick. You trade your first-round pick, you hedge the farm, you sell next year's first-round pick, and you trade a third-round pick, and you fucking move up into the top 12, and you draft a defensive end.
Veach does well with those late-round guys, Creed and Trey Smith, and they drafted that dude out of Kentucky last year.
That's not a late first-round pick. He's gotten Clyde.
Yeah.
Who else has he drafted in the end of the first round? Just Clyde?
I'd have to rack my brain for that. But
because we traded for Frank.
Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis last year.
Yeah, we traded for Frank. We traded for Orlando Brown. We drafted Clyde. Is there another? I don't think there's any other picks because we didn't have a pick his first year because that's when we had Mahomes.
The Mahomes trade.
So yeah, I think Clyde's been his only first-round pick except for this year.
You might be right. Not positive.
But if he did, I mean, that just goes to show how good that pick was.
Right.
But
yeah, what a crazy deadline. Chiefs are ready. They're locked and loaded. They're not changing anything. Nobody else is. So the playoff runs, I mean, they're starting.
It starts now. LOC, checking those lineups, play those waivers. We have until week 11 to make those trades. If you're looking to win now, if you're trying to stack up for next year, you
stack those picks up.
You got to pull out some nut hairs for this one. Like if you want to win, you got to be willing to give up some stuff. If you are looking to get rid of some guys and you're looking to hedge what you have now for the coming seasons, you got to be willing to. You got to sacrifice.
Yeah, unfortunately, to make trades happen, you got to give stuff up.
A good trade, like you almost like both sides have to feel like they gave up a little too much. I feel like that's a good trade. No trade should be like, I'm so happy. Like, I guess not everyone's as happy as Nick was with his first round. I think Nick won that trade, but
right, especially long-term dynasty.
Mm-hmm. But I think that'll conclude this episode of the DNZ Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. Make sure you go check us out on the YouTube. We are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Everywhere.
It takes a little while to load on Apple Podcasts. I don't know why. It loads automatically onto Spotify, though. We do have polls and questions. Please answer. We love feedback from our league mates and any new listeners.
Yeah, and Apple Podcasts, that's usually where I go for most of my podcasts. So give us a review, give us a like. I mean, that does a lot. So
we really appreciate it. Thank you all so much, and we'll catch you next time on the DNZ Fantasy Football Podcast.